Hello, everyone. And this time I'm live with you, not in the evening time, but I know it's 12 noon, a rare time when I meet you online. But, there was somebody who did some unfairing in my life and everything just went topsy turvy. So, yes, today I'm here live with our featured author of the month. You all already know who he is. You've been reading the updates related to the featured author. So, yes, I have a very interesting person here with me today, T F Carthick. His name is Karthik Lakshminarayan, but yeah, his pen name is T F Carthick, and I'm going to ask him why is that his pen name. So, before I get him on the stream, I just want to tell all the audience that if you have any questions related to writing or Karthik's books, just feel free to post, and as and when I get time during my interview with him, I will take up your questions. So, just to give you an introduction once again about our featured author, Karthik Lakshminarayan, who writes under pen name T F Carthick, is the author of the highly popular Unfairy Tales series, of which two books have been published so far: Karthik's Unfairy Tales and More Unfairy Tales. His works, which are a retelling of Grimm's fairy tales, have found resonance with adults as well as children. He has also co-authored a collection of crime thriller novellas titled Siren Spell Danger. Many of his works have featured in multi-author anthologies and literary magazines. He has been blogging for 12 years and runs two blogs, Lucifer House IMC and The Many Worlds of TF Karthik. We have shared the links on our post, and we will do that again, where he has shared many of his shorter works of fiction, musings, and childhood memories. As a blogger, he has won over a dozen awards in various contests, and I'm sure deservedly so because I've read his books and he's fabulous. So let me not waste any more time and get him on the stream. Hi, Karthik. Welcome to Beyond the Box.
Yeah, hi Anupama. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. Hi everyone. Glad
Yes,
to
we
be with
have
you.
people joining in. Yes, Sheena says hi, Sheena.
Hi Sheena.
Yes. So feel free to grill our featured author. That's why we put them on the hot seat. But yeah, before we get to that, so Karthik, before we talk about your writing and your books, I wanted to ask you a little bit about you as a reader. Like, what has, like, as a child or even later, like, when did you develop this love for reading, and what has been the role of books and literature in your life? If you could share a little bit about that.
So as I would say, I am more a reader than a writer. So
Mhm.
possibly I will tell you how reading led to writing. So if you see, I started reading probably in my second standard or something. I probably started reading. My favorites were naughty books of Enid Blyton and
Okay.
Chanda Mama.
Yeah.
And
Journal
these two
favorites.
are my a favorite thing. In a way, it's fantasy because Chanda Mama is fantasy, Noddy is fantasy. So in a way, I
Right.
started with fantasy and came back to fantasy, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So from there, I started reading, and a lot of people start mainstream Enid Blyton pretty young. I didn't start Enid Blyton very young and all. I
Okay.
started Enid Blyton only in my fifth or sixth. So around the time I started Enid Blyton itself, within a year I graduated to James Hadley Chase and Agatha Christie and Jeffrey Archer. Basically, whatever my mother reads, what she thinks is not beyond my age, she would just give me to read. But
Right.
still, I had my love for Enid Blyton, and I continued to read Enid Blyton through my 8th, ninth, 10th, and college. Even now, I read Enid Blyton. Though I started Blyton late and almost immediately started adult books, I retain my love for Enid Blyton even now. And that's briefly about my reading. The thing about, I mean, I'm an author, I'm in front of you and all that, but I actually do not like to know my authors. The reason
Oh,
being,
okay. Hmm.
the reason being that I immerse myself so much in the story, I believe in the story. So if you believe
Hmm.
that somebody has written the story, you don't believe in the story. I mean, you feel
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
happening, you're there, you're part of it. It seems fake if you feel somebody has written it. So that's why my dream was always to live a life like in the storybooks. Like in my 8th, ninth, I wanted to become Sherlock Holmes. In my college days, I wanted to become a psychohistorian. That is a
Oh.
concept in Isaac Asimov's Foundation
Hmm.
series. And
Okay.
even after finishing college, even when I joined my job, I was still in the frame of mind I'm going to become something fictional, something fancy. So probably, when I reached 2008 or something, 7 or 8 years into job and after MBA, I realized real life is just going to be real life and it's not going to be anything else. So still I had to express my imagination. See, reading is passive. things happen you can't influence. Real world is active. So real world you can't do all those fancy things. So what is left? Writing.
Yeah.
There you can actually influence and make things happen. So that's how I took to writing, because in real world I can't do all the things I do in my books. So I can do that in my writing.
Nice. That's very interesting thoughts there, Karthik. Especially, I really like that point you made about not knowing the author, because once you get to know more about the author, then you know that, okay, it's all like make believe and written, and somewhere, like you spoke about believing in the story. I think that would probably resonate with many, I'm sure. And we have Archana also who has joined. She says, "Hey, Karthik, great to hear your views."
Oh wow, happy to see Archana here. Right? You
Yeah.
and she have been you both have been my greatest backers.
Yes, yes, yeah. I think even she's doing great work with the children and teens. Yeah, that's amazing to see her too. And Rohini says, "Great to see such an amazing writer and one of the lucky ones to receive your book Unfairy Tales as a prize for a contest."
Glad you like that.
Yes, you have a lot of fans in the BTB family, Karthik. I must share with you, adults and kids alike. Okay, so now before I ask you anything else, I want you to tell us the reason for choosing a pen name T F Carthick. Like, what's the secret behind that?
Uh, there are two aspects to it. One is why a pen name and why TF Karthik.
Yes,
So why a pen name is, I always, felt, see, again, it comes back to what I was telling, living multiple lives. That's why
right,
even my
right.
blog's name is like Many Lives of TF Karthik.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I realize that.
So,
Yep. Yeah.
so it's like you live many lives, and with one name, you can't live many lives. So that way, even before long, I used to create fancy names, and whenever I go on a forum, I used to create some new name. Some people love their name, but and they want their name everywhere. They want their name to appear in everything and all that. I mean, like I feel a name has an identity, a name has a power. In fantasy, they
Yes.
say a name has a power. So now, if you want to be many people, you need many names. So that's why I needed a pen name. So when I started in a MBA forum, I used to call myself the Raven. And when
Mm.
Yahoo Chat started 15 years back, I used to call myself Wise Man from the East. So I used to try with names, and I build my personality. When I change my name, I become a different person. So now as an author, I'm not the same person who am at work. At work, I am like a subdued person, focusing on my work, serious, and things like that. But that's not who I am as an author. So I needed a different name. So that's number one. Now coming to the why the specific name, there are two aspects to it again. One is the TF and one is the Karthik. I
Yes.
always liked C's and H's, and that looks like it gives a kind of nice feel to it. I mean, like Karthik is a very common name. Even in every school I have been, there have at least been three Karthiks in my class. In my college, we had seven Karthiks, and we had three Karthik Lakshminarayan in my IIT
Oh
batch.
my God. Okay.
So that way, I mean, you're like almost like anybody. I mean, like a Tom, Dick, and
Yes.
Harry. India, we will say Amit, Karthik, and Ravi, maybe. So
Oh my God. Any Ravi who's watching will probably relate to that.
yeah. So that way, I just needed something, and some letters have a fantasy science fiction feel to it.
Mhm.
For example, I would like to tell you about one of my authors, Cherry, CJ Cherry. She's called. Her name is
Mhm.
Cherry. But now that sounds like a romance author. But she's a science fiction author. So what did she do? She just added a H under the end of her name. She added
Mhm.
Cherry, Cherry. Now it sounds like a science fiction author, not like a romance author.
Very interesting. Yes.
Now, similarly, Karthik sounds pretty ordinary. Now, Carthick now sounds a bit exotic. It's so strange. Nobody has that name. I mean, it's a brand, right? I mean, like, you want to see, I mean, that name. I mean, okay, you make it curious. Who is this author? When you say Karthik, you don't feel curious, right?
Yeah.
And the initial TF, that used to be my blog name. So when I started my blog in 2008, I used to call myself the Fool. So I used to be anonymous blogger. Again, there is a reason behind why the Fool, because if you study the quotes of the kings, ancient kings, and all in
Mm.
Victorian England and all, there used to be people called jesters. The jesters used to be called the fools. The fools are people who can, because of their humor and because they are not taken seriously, they can speak out the truths which others are afraid to speak. I
Hmm.
mean, there are two things. One is because people they don't take much offense if you say something, because they consider don't take you seriously. The other thing is,
Right.
uh, you also don't you're not afraid that you're saying something wrong and you appear a fool in front of somebody, because you call yourself the fool. So no fear of being taken for a fool. Most people don't say what they want to say, which is what I am in office. Office, I don't say anything. I have an image to maintain in office, so I will not
Yes.
bring my views, because I will think, what will my boss think of me, what will my colleagues think of me. But as a writer, I have no inhibitions. I don't care what anyone thinks of me, because I am a fool. Who cares what anyway you think I'm a fool. So that was my blogger name, TF Concept. So that
Hmm.
and all my blogger friends used to call me TF only. Even now, if you see any of my
Wow.
blogger friends, they call me TF. So they don't
Okay.
want to call me the fool. They feel disrespectful. They just call me with the initials TF.
Okay,
So that's
that's
TF
so
Karthik.
interesting. I never expected this would be the story behind T F Carthick, and I'm getting so many comments just about what you were, talking. So, Sheena says, love the names, very interesting. Archana says that's so interesting. Then, same with Kokila, she says interesting trivia behind the name. And Archana again, yeah, she says so much in a name here. Yes, absolutely. I think. Great, yeah, that's really, I mean, I think all this just trickles down even to your writing. We come to your books. Now tell me something, that why did you choose to write an existing story with your own interpretation? What was it like? Was it something which just happened by chance one day that you just came up with that, or was it more intention? So if you could share about how that first book idea came about in your head.
Uh, see, the whole thing. It started actually in my blog. So
Mm-hmm.
I was writing a lot of things in my blog. So this fairy tales, I had actually started a series I was running on my blog, which was much lighter versions of these own stories, which I used
Okay.
to try interpreting the stories. So always, my thought process always used to go like, instead of this, if it had happened some other way, how
Right.
things would have turned out. If this thing happened in current world, how it will turn out.
Yes.
Like when I released my first book, when I was addressing the people I was telling the story, I used to pester my grandfather like anything. My grandfather used to say that story about the lion and the mouse. So I used to put scenarios after scenarios at my grandfather and found him like, okay, yeah, why did the mouse do like this? Why did the lion do
Wow.
like that? If the net had been weaker, would the lion have been able to get out of the net by itself? Then would it have killed the rat? What would have happened? I mean, why did the rat trust that if he released the lion, why the lion won't eat the rat? And what if somebody strong went and thrashed the lion? I mean, I would ask all types of questions.
Yeah.
So I began to think through what happens. I mean, if you change the story, it's like a,
Yes.
it's like a experiment. See, a story is something in real life. It's like I see them all as thought experiments. Like if something you change one parameter, and
Hmm.
then you imagine the whole thing, what happens, the whole story
Yes.
changes.
Yes.
Then change one more parameter, the whole story changes. So that's, I find it funny. I mean, like seeing the whole thing, then seeing the story from a different angle. So you see something from here, you see it through a binoculars, you see it through a telescope, you see it through a microscope. Everything, the same thing will appear differently the way you see it. You wear a green color glass and see it, it looks, if you know the war story, they used to wear the green color glass, so the Emerald City appears Greece because everyone is wearing the green color
Right.
glass. So it's like the point of view, the event. I mean, if I am this person, and often the stories get told only from the point of view of the heroes. And there are so many others. Real life is not only in terms of heroes. I mean, most of us are not heroes in real life. I mean,
Yes.
we are the normal people and we live our own lives. So, how would the story appear if we were just another character in those stories? So, those were my thoughts. I just kept experimenting and playing about, and I used to keep writing one of the stories. And then somehow, I was experimenting various books I wanted to start. The first book I wanted to start writing was something called Heroism Consultants.
Mm-hmm.
So that was again started on my blog. So I was taking the Hercules story and trying to write like a modern man, an MBA or a management consultant lands up there. How does he apply these frameworks and how we? see, the corporate has a way of working. So that style of
Yes.
working, and the Hercules world was a raw, barbaric world. So how would I person react when he goes there? I was trying to write that. I mean, through multiple publishers, it was getting rejected, and it was moving through various hoops.
Right.
And meanwhile, I started my second book, which was my retelling of the Mayan myth. So both
Okay.
these were going through multiple hoops. Some publisher was saying I like the heroism consultant. Some publisher was saying I like this. So between the two, it was playing here and there, and then suddenly it came up that I got fed up that these publishers are just playing around. I need to do, but I didn't want to pick up these two because
Right.
these two had more work to do to get them to this one. So the third option suddenly it came to me. Okay, these fairy tales have written. Let me start picking them and making them full-fledged stories.
Right. Right. Mm. Interesting, interesting. And of course you came up with your first book, which a lot of us at BTP read and really loved, and then you came up with the second one, more Unfairy Tales. So do you plan to do this like a series, because I think you are getting good response on these books? So what is your plan? Like, do you think that, yeah, this would be good to, kind of just go on as a series with this?
See, I want to listen to more audience response. See, I have got more ideas.
Yeah.
I can write Panchatantra. I mean, I have exhausted now most of Grimm's fairy tales. Then there
Mm.
is Anderson's fairy tales. I mean, Anderson's fairy tales have to be handled a bit more sensitively because, see, Grimm's fairy tales were not having any good things in them. I mean, they are just stories.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't
true.
have any moral lessons,
Yes,
and
yes,
they are
yes,
not
yes.
soft. But Anderson's stories are all having a tragedy, and they are having a tenderness to them. So if you
Yep.
handle them
Right.
badly, then you can
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah. True.
Uh,
It can, yeah, go wrong
I mean,
there.
you can't be
Yes.
very funny with them. It's like you will be mocking at somebody who is oppressed if you
Exactly,
uh,
exactly.
handle
That can
the
actually, yeah.
Anderson's fairy tales. Then there is the Russian fairy tale which I want to pick up. That's something. But again, there the thing is here most of the effect comes because people know the stories. But the Russian fairy tales, people don't know the original stories. So that way, you should write in such a way that people who don't know the original stories also enjoy it. So Panchatantra again has its own challenges because India people are becoming hypersensitive to anything. One side people will say that nobody is writing about anything Indian, and the other side, if you take anything Indian, anything left or right, you go a bit out of way. People will immediately take offense and say that
Yes.
you have. So it's like I
You would
mean.
become a trending hashtag, probably. You never know.
So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't
Yes.
write, people say, why you always pick foreign themes? Why don't you pick Indian themes? If you pick Indian themes, your creativity gets constrained. I mean, if you always have to think about not hurting anyone, then again, like my corporate Karthik, I'll become my author Karthik, all tied up. Office, I don't have to offend my boss. I don't have to offend my colleagues. I shouldn't offend my clients. Now here, I have to think who all I shouldn't be offending. So those
True.
are the constraints. So these three ideas I have, and my mentor, I have a mentor who put me on this path to writing. He also
Okay.
feels often that this idea has kind of exhausted. I mean, that again, readers have to tell if they have appetite for more of these ideas. He feels I should do something new. He again pushes me to pick up that old first project of heroism consultants and go
Hmm.
at it again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm still thinking between starting that or writing my next Russian fairy tales, Panchatantra, and Anderson's fairy tales. So then that becomes a full series, like various fairy tales, picking them up and writing. So I'm just thinking between them, like if a lot of people have interest and I need to think through these issues, like dealing Anderson's face insensitively or without offending people in the Panchatantra
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Russian fairy tales, being able to tell people who don't know the story still they are able to appreciate it. So these points are clear. Maybe I would be writing them because Grimm's more or less is done. There are three or
Yeah.
four. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
there are many, but they're all obscure stories. The rest of the Grimm
Right,
stories.
right, right, right. And yeah, I think for people to kind of relate and lap these up, it's important that you use stories which they kind of still connect to. So Archana says something interesting, which I agree with. That I am so glad that happened for us. Rejections there brought us these two fabulous books. I completely agree, Archana.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, I think sometimes your fate leads you somewhere. I think somehow I think people like you, I never knew that you will patronize me and bring me such big audience when I started writing. I did not even know that it will appeal to children because you both have read. You know that there are a lot of themes which
Yes.
are about politics and
True.
society and all that, which unless explained by people like you to children, they won't get it on their own.
Right,
I mean,
right,
I'm
right.
not
Yeah, I
understanding. I'm
remember you
sorry.
mentioning this to me that you never intended really to write it for children. I mean, I remember when, long back I had told you that, yes, kids are reading. I remember that you had mentioned that that was not your intention at the beginning, right? To write it for children. I mean, and I guess it just turned out so because, actually kids these days, as per, I'm sure even Archana will agree, and they perceive a lot. I mean, we may think that certain topics may be little something which they can't grasp, but they know a lot, they perceive a lot, and just with little bit of conversation with us, they can actually understand everything. And because these both books, our students have read and they've really enjoyed. So yeah, definitely it's for everybody, I think, these books. So okay, so Karthik, now I want to ask you something which I'm a writer myself, and I hear this often that there is this certain mindset in a section of people that, okay, if somebody is self-published means, that's not like a proper author, or you need to have this to be an author, or you need to have, like, there are these very set notions in the heads of some people. What is your take on this as an author? Because as I understand, you also went the self-publishing route, and like, what do you really think? Because I personally feel that, we go with too many jargons and everybody is just a writer. But I just wanted to know your view on this, and whether you also experience this. Like, did you ever find somebody kind of, giving you that kind of an impression that, okay, unless you're really published by some well-known publisher, then you're not really, arrived, or whatever it is. So yeah, I just wanted to know your take on this.
See, it is all about the brand. I mean, see,
Hmm.
uh, 1,000 people apply to work for you. You can't interview all the 1,000 people.
Right.
So you end up picking 10. So you go by some parameters which might
Mm.
not be justifiable parameters. So same thing applies in all parts of the world. See,
Right.
at a very young age, I realized the value of the brand, which is why I did degrees from IIT and IIM, because those are brands which differentiate me. Just because I
Mm-hmm.
went there, I did not grow horns and I did not become better than any other people. Just that because I have those brands, people
Yes.
perceive me as better. So I'm a introvert and I am shy, and some people bring it just in their personality. I mean, you just be there, they see you, people feel
Mm.
you're good. I know
Correct.
I don't have that personality, so I needed something else. So I needed those brands to make me like. I have been at client site, and some people have said, "Ah, this fellow looks like a idiot" and all that, and then somebody else will go and say, "Ah, this guy is IIT IM." Then that fellow, "Oh, I didn't know that." I mean, I am still the same person whom they thought was an
Yeah.
idiot. But as soon as these people said I am IIT IM, they started seeing me as a
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand the perception. Yes, that changes. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Branding is important. Yeah.
So that way, public the names give a branding. Now, see, as a self-publishing author, I might say that I am. You should respect me as much as any
Mm.
published author. Yes, you should. But then let us see the numbers. See, published by big authors, they will be in thousands. Self-published will be in millions. So I don't know anything. So I have to go and pick a book. So where will I have a better chance of picking a good book?
Yeah.
From the million which nobody has filtered, or the thousand which somebody, they may have their own flaws, they might have their
Mm.
biases, but still somebody has filtered it, somebody has put an effort, and they have got that from 1 million, they have brought it down to this thousand. So statistically, yeah, published by a publication company book will be better than a self-published book statistically, but
Mm.
individually, I mean, any day a self-published book can be better, which is where
Yeah.
you need to really concentrate as a self-published author. That's where the difference between a vanity publishing and a
Yes.
self-publication comes. Because
Yes.
where since you are part of that million, you have to do that effort for the branding. You have to choose a good cover. Your editing has to be flawless. See, that's why I had to choose a good editor, Percy Vadiwala, who is like an amazing guy who will nitpick. Even in your Facebook posts, he will nitpick. I don't know, you have met him, right, Percy?
Yeah.
So he's my editor. So I picked him. I mean, he's the guy who can nitpick the smallest word even in a Facebook post. So I picked him as my editor. I went for excellent author. I think even the review, they appreciated Medha Gupta, and earlier they appreciated the Rashmi, who was my earlier designer for my first book. So I had to pick the best and bring that branding. I had to convey my idea to them. Like for example, Medha actually, the way she
Yeah.
works, she will actually ask you about your thoughts, what you want to convey, and there are so many discussions to bring that cover. It's not like randomly you say draw
Yes.
something, draw something. It is so much discussions happen to and fro.
Yes.
Like, what is your concept? What you want to come out through the drawing? I mean, see the name T F Carthick, something comes out. The picture,
Yes.
something comes out. The name
Yes.
of the
Yes.
book, something comes
Absolutely.
out. All this become more
Agree.
important as replacement to that brand of the publisher. If you have the name of the publisher, then that alone gives you that certain authority it lends you. So people can ignore these other aspects. But when you're on your own, you have to really focus on these aspects. And when you go for vanity, you're outsourcing all these aspects to somebody and asking them to do it, which you have to do and really bring their brand to the life. You're
Right.
saying somebody, I will pay you 10,000, you do all this for me. And then they will do some random stuff, and then people are surprised that it is not working. I mean, hello? I think you're on mute. You're saying something on mute.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. I think my system got. Yeah. Yeah. Please carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. And again, people like self-publishers because there is an element of entrepreneurship to it.
Yeah.
Because
I
it's like
agree.
running
Yeah.
a company. So it's again, I loved the whole process. I mean, it's the same thing whether you do vanity or self, but just throwing money and getting someone to do it as against doing every bit of it. You're making the product right from the start. I did the typesetting. I contacted the cover designer. I contacted the editor. Then I spoke to the printer. The prints came to me. I packaged the books. I did the marketing campaign. So it's like end to end, you have just created that whole thing. That feeling is there, that entrepreneurship feeling. That's the other element. Like people all like entrepreneurs. So, which is the other thing that gives a kind of aura to self-publishers compared to vanity publishers.
Wonderful. I think the way you've explained this whole thing is really wonderful. In fact, that's what even our audience says. Gauri says so clearly explained. And Archana also says, wow, never thought of these details. I think this would be very, very helpful for, because a lot of new writers are watching this. BTB has many writers who intend to, publish their work. And I think this would really be helpful for them to make decisions. So everybody who's watching, I hope you've heard Karthik. You can rewatch this session anytime, and please keep all those points in mind because I think he has just summarized it beautifully for all of us. So, yeah, like I mean, I think this. I feel that actually I should cut out this particular portion from this video and also share this separately because this is one thing a lot of people ask. Even when they reach out to us, the first question would be that okay, if I go for self-publishing, how would it be, or what are the things I should keep in mind. So yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you for that, Karthik.
Yeah, I
And
would like to add one point.
yeah.
There is a misconception that if you self-publish,
Hmm.
the traditional publishers won't touch you with a barge pole.
Yes, yes, that is a very common
That is a lie from my personal experience. Let me tell you. After all the publicity it received, most of it thanks to you and Archana to a good part. One of the Penguin publishers actually she reached out to me. I didn't reach out to Penguin. Penguin reached out to me and said we want to pick up this book, and
Wow.
they went through the book and all that. They really liked it, and this goes back to my old point. And my first thing I was telling whether children will be able to appreciate the nuances.
Yes, yes,
So
amazing.
again, I am also underestimating. I am falling to the same fault. Even Archana has told me that children think so much. You should
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
give them the credit. This Penguin people, the marketing team of Penguin, the editorial team liked it. The marketing team said this is beyond the main minds of children. Children will not be able to appreciate this, so we cannot take it ahead. It passed the editorial team, but it didn't pass the
Not the
marketing team
marketing team.
because they felt it was above the standard of children.
They don't know the standard of children today then because we interact with them day in and day out and we know in fact even if you read some of the write-ups of the students at BTB, you will be so amazed at the nuances, the deep thought that goes behind it. In fact, I have had so many jury members also tell us, because we keep doing a lot of contests, and they always say that somehow they always enjoy reading the write-ups of the children more than the adults. I mean, they feel that children are a lot more uninhibited when they write. They think more deeply. So yeah, I think, yeah, probably they just underestimated the kids there. But yeah, no problem. We'll still get to read a lot more from Karthik, I'm sure, in the future. So if you all have any questions, please do share. And Gauri says that her daughter loved your book because they had received it from BTB as a, like, I mean, they had won something, and she had received it. So yes, there are so many kids who have loved your book.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Always great to know. I really love those letters which come from children. They draw those
Yes.
pictures and sing and they send. I really love those things when they come from kids. I
Yeah.
was really, see, though I didn't write this for kids, my first love is always children's books. So eventually I
Okay.
wanted to write for children, but this I didn't mean to write
You
this for
didn't
children.
expect, but yeah, it just so
But
happened,
this
yeah, that
somehow
it
picked
became
up.
for children. Nice. Even Rohini says that her 13-year-old reads your book again and again. So yes,
Okay.
Penguin, I hope you're listening, the marketing team of Penguin. I think you should forward this video to them. Great, great, Karthik. That's wonderful. So now I want to ask you something, which again, because see, at BTB, like I told you, there are many kids, there are many new writers who want to learn more about writing. So, from your own experience as an author, you've written so much, you've been writing for so long. What are some of the practical tips would you want to share with them, which you feel, sometimes there are things that we realize along the way, and we feel that, okay, maybe I can give that tip to somebody, or anything else which you feel that that can help them practically to improve their craft. So yeah, some pearls of wisdom from you there.
Okay. See, one of the things about writing is you need to understand what a story is.
Hmm.
Story is an immersive experience.
Yes.
So what people try to write, and which means the whole emotions and that whole thing, it's like living lives which you have not lived. So that whole
Yes.
thing is one of the things that I found good is immersing myself into that story
Yep.
and just trying to write. If you see mine, you see a strong first person voice. Even when I write in third person, it will be a POV third person. I don't know if
Okay.
that's a very technical term when I say
No,
POV
no.
third person,
Everybody
but
will get it. Yeah.
it's like even when I write in third person, I will be saying like the third person, but still it will be like somebody seeing it and writing. It's like very intense.
Yes.
I won't write it like, I mean, like Chanda Mama stories, it will be like very flat. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Yes. Yes.
Then, I mean, what's there? I mean, see, a movie you have pictures to see, you have
Yep.
actors acting, but a book you don't have that. So you should not. Even some of the very established authors, I mean, not the famous authors, but people with very good skills in other areas, tend to be, a bit. Even I was when I started. My mentor only brought me out of this thing. He said, "Be visceral in your emotions. Just, I mean, don't be like your corporate self. I mean,
Yeah.
because you want to escape that. Show anger, show happiness, show excitement, show wonder.
Right.
I mean, what you're sharing is not the details.
Hmm.
What you're sharing is the experience. That experience. See, I went and had a picnic. Now, if you take the Enid Blyton books, see all those food items she's describing. And let me tell you, all of us have dreams of eating those foods. But if you actually go to UK and eat them, those items are pathetic. I mean, those cones and those things, they are bland and they hardly are
True.
worth
True.
tasting. But when you read about them, I mean, you feel such wonder. I mean, now when I read the word scones, I feel like excitement bubbling within me
Yes.
when I read
Yes. Yes.
scones.
Yeah. True.
But I mean, even though I've eaten scones and I know that scones are nothing, but that's the emotion you'll have to recreate that in the books. That's the way I feel. I mean, there are other authors writing for other things, but I am
Of course.
mainly an escapist
Yes.
author. I mean, I do bring some messages, but I am not really a. I mean, it automatically comes out. I have
Yep.
worldviews and all that,
True. True.
but
True.
I am more an experienced author who likes to bring alive experiences. So that's what people should do. And they should imagine themselves in the situation, and then just try to write what they are feeling. And the details need not be full. You let the author imagine the details. I mean, like people get bogged down when they want to try to imagine the detail. Okay, so there is that curtain which has got a embroidery of blue with a golden thread with a ruby lining, and then they start researching all that. I mean, now the author is all those things are inconsequential to the story. I mean, I am a reader. Now you have a curtain in your house. Do you know what all has gone into that curtain? Does it change any of your experience? How you experience your today's experience? What that
Right.
curtain was, did it change any of your experience today? It didn't. So why do you have to describe it in so much? Leave it and let them imagine. Let one person, even the color doesn't matter. Let one person imagine a blue curtain. Let one person imagine a red. One person, leave it to the people's imagination. Just give them the emotion. And that's my view. I mean,
Right. But no, that is an excellent advice, because again, this is something which we get asked a lot, especially as a mentor. Many ask me that how much should one balance between really going descriptive and making the readers feel. And I think the way you've explained it is perfect, because, like you said, that something, if that's not really impacting the experience of, you don't need to. And yeah, there is definitely a need to leave something for the imagination of the reader. So very well put there. And Sukhvinder Bakshi says, I'm a big fan of Enid Blyton. I think most of us are. Gauri says that once we start writing, we have to reread the books that we once read from the angle of a writer. Yes, that can help, when you kind of read it with that perspective of learning. And Rohini says that what you shared is an amazing and unique perception. And I'm sure it's so. All of these people who are watching you, actually, they are all writers. They are trying to learn. So I'm really glad that they're watching and getting to, learn so much from you. So, Karthik, now, of course, we've asked you most of the things related to your books and writing. One last thing I would like to ask you before we do a very quick rapid fire with you is that. I mean, what do you as a writer feel that ultimately, like, what is it that you are trying to achieve for yourself in this, like as an author, maybe, or you can say that, okay, as somebody in this field, what is your ultimate like aim? Is it that you're just doing it for the love of writing? Are you, because all of us have different aspirations from it. So what is it for you?
see, I told in the beginning also, I wanted to live those stories,
So that
and
is it.
those stories
Yeah.
are passive, and I can't change anything. Those stories, yesterday I read that book, today I take that book and read it again. That book will be the same. I can't
Right.
influence. Real life, you can't do fancy things. Real life, you have the same 9 to 5 schedule. I mean, my job is actually 7 to 9, so I have to do my
Mm.
job. Half an hour, go for a walk, sleep, work on weekends. This routine goes on. So where can you live out those lives? I mean,
Yeah.
one is passive living out the life by watching serials and stuff. The other is active living out the life, and that is writing. But then next question follows is, if that is all, why do you bother with all this publishing and publicity and all that? Why do you
Yeah.
want to
You're
get the
right.
book out? If all you want is to live the experience, you can just write it in your diary and keep it in this one. That's
Yes.
about it.
True.
But
True.
the thing is that see, the mind needs to take something seriously. If you nobody is going to read it, you don't take it seriously. Like when you're writing, you know it's going to become a book. You yourself take the book seriously. You develop the craft. When you feel nobody is going to read it and nothing is going to happen of it, you
Right.
yourself are not taking it seriously. Once you're not taking it seriously, you don't believe in the story, so it doesn't create that impact for you. So that is
Yes.
why I feel I have to publish it and take it
Right.
somewhere, so that I myself take it seriously. Somebody is going to read it. There is a deadline. I have to publish it. Somebody is going to like it. Somebody is not going to like it. So at least give some motivation to take it seriously. So that's the motivation. In terms of money, yes. I mean, see, last 2 years I haven't written a word. My
Mm.
job is keeping me hectic. So I really would like to become an author who can make enough money to at least self-support myself. So
Yeah.
that I may still need a day job, but this is not even a day job. My job is like morning 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. So that's like a day and night job. So I would like a manage with a simple 9 to 5 job, and with some simple salary, and rest my writing can support. If
Yeah.
I reach there, yes. Other than that, every single person saying they really loved the book, every appreciation comes from the heart of people.
Yeah.
Even 10 people say they liked it from their heart. That's happy enough for me. I mean, because what's there in name, fame, and all? I mean, it will come. I mean, tomorrow, who knows? I mean, I keep wondering about Plato. I mean, who knows whether Plato really lived or was it somebody had put a name there? It's just a name. who knows who was that person? Who knows after
Yeah.
many years what happened to that person?
Right. Very interesting. I must say, Karthik, this has been one of the most unique featured author chat sessions, I think, for me, because the kind of perspective you shared on various things. And there is this, even in my interaction with you, there was this undercurrent of wit and humor, which comes through in your writing. I must say that. So I guess that is something inherent in your personality. So, yeah, now what we are going to do is, before we say goodbye, we'll do a very quick rapid fire just to know you a little better. And don't worry, I'm very nice. I don't ask questions like Karan Johar. I'll be
Yeah.
asking you very easy questions. And yeah, so okay, so you're ready. So the first question is your preference, tea or coffee?
Akash Ganga.
Oh,
Arga-
okay, interesting. All right. The second question is that if you could put yourself in one of your stories, which fairy tale would you choose and why?
this is a tough one.
Yeah, I wanted to, but this is something which would be very interesting also. So you can take a few seconds if you want for that one.
uh, maybe Beauty and the Beast.
Hmm, that's interesting. I really love that one, I must say. That was one of my favorites in the book, and that's my daughter who was speaking because she's always very excited about the authors I chat with,
Yes.
and she has been after my life to read out your book, and I'm like, you're too young for it. Okay. Actually, her live is going on. Okay. Okay, great. So now, yeah. So the next one is that if given a choice between writing in the mountains, writing beside the beach, or writing in a quiet place at your home, what is your favorite choice? Like, I mean,
I
what
have,
would be your choice?
I mean, like just by going by it, I would say mountains immediately. I feel, but I have only written in the quiet of my home. I've never written in mountains. But generally, I like mountains.
Oh, okay, nice. So yeah, maybe you can try that next time. Probably the next book can be written over there. Post COVID, I guess. All right. Okay. The next one is that what will be your preferred scenario out of the following? Getting logged in a library with no connectivity, or getting logged in a room with friends with no connectivity, or getting stranded in an island again with no connectivity, and like nobody with you basically, but yeah, you have a book there with you. So what would you prefer among all of these?
Mm, yeah, if the library has more than 10,000 books, then library.
Okay, now what are 10,000 books? That's interesting. Nice. Okay, great. Fine. Okay, so the next question is that okay, are you a people's person or you prefer to just stay alone in your room?
Mm, I myself don't know. I think I
Okay.
am a lonely. See, with certain people, I feel a connect and I immediately feel like talking. But with, for example, I connect well with a lot of these virtual people. I mean, I think I'm first time
Yes.
I'm speaking with you, that too in an audience, I feel so comfortable. But I don't even
Yes.
speak with my neighbors. No,
So
I've
you're
not
like a
spoken
mix,
to a
I
single
guess.
neighbor of mine.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that happens sometimes. I do relate to that thing of the connections in the virtual space. Sometimes you just connect, I think, when you have similar interests and similar topics that basically, that you can talk about with somebody. So, yeah, I do relate. Okay. And the last question is, once again, yeah. So the last question is that if given a chance to interview an author, like you interviewing an author, whom would you like to interview and why?
Mm, I said some answer. And as I told you, generally, I'm not very, what do you call it? Yeah, I think the author I would like to interview for the deep thinking and all that is Frank Herbert.
Hmm. Very interesting. Okay.
So, as I said, I like to believe in the stories and all that. But Frank
Yeah. Like
Herbert has
you said
got
initially, we
a
would
lot of
not want.
conceptual element. It's mind-boggling how Frank Herbert came up with his work.
Right.
So, I would really maybe will get a lot of insights talking to Frank Herbert.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. So thank you so much, Karthik, for taking our time and doing this fabulous chat with us today. We all have really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I'm sure the audience has, as I can make out from the comments. Audience, please do check out his books. Karthik's and Fairy Tales, More and Fairy Tales, they're all amazing. Trust me, I've read them. So many of us have read them. So if you haven't already checked it out, go right now. Go and you can in fact also check out the book review on BTB website. One of our students has also reviewed one of his books, and yes, just immerse yourself, like he says, in his stories. I'm sure they truly give you that kind of feeling. So thank you once again, Karthik.
Okay, thanks a lot everyone for listening to me, and thanks a lot Anupama for organizing and the way you conducted the session. Just 45 minutes passed like just. I mean,
Yeah.
I would be the guy who would get self-conscious and tense and all that. I am not at all. When I appeared so easy, this is not how I am. I am like very introvert, self-conscious. But
Nice.
you just
But
put me at
you were
ease.
very chilled out today, I must say. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So bye
Thanks a lot.
everyone, and I'll
Bye.
see you all
Yeah.
soon next month with our next feature of author of the month. So yeah, stay tuned to know who that is. Bye.
Bye.